Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. I warned my wife about one thing. Don't bring your male boss to your birthday dinner. She laughed it off, called me jealous, and even honored him as the guest of honor. By the end of the evening, he fled the room in tears, and this morning his lawyer called me. Now everyone's asking, what did I do to make him lose control like that? The answer is simple. I just let the truth explode at the perfect moment, in the most devastating way. Vivian, this is my final warning, I said that evening as she scrolled through her phone, not even bothering to look at me. If you dare to invite Garrett to your birthday party, you'll bear the consequences yourself. She looked up, her eyes full of mockery. Elliot, can you stop being so childish? Mr. Reed is my supervisor. Do you even understand workplace etiquette? Her tone was like she was lecturing an ignorant child. Or is it that you just can't stand me being more successful than you? That statement stung, not because it was harsh, but because that's exactly how she saw me now. A loser who didn't deserve her. 3 years ago, Vivian would say, having you is enough. Now, she looked at me like I was a piece of outdated furniture. But she didn't know that this loser, she looked down on held all the evidence that could destroy her and her precious Mr. Reed. Silence doesn't mean ignorance, and restraint doesn't equal incompetence. 2 months ago, I noticed something was wrong. It wasn't the cliché perfume smell or strange phone calls. Vivian was smart. She wouldn't make such amateur mistakes. What truly alerted me was data. As an IT auditor, I'm pathologically sensitive to anomalies. One Friday night, I habitually checked our home router's traffic monitor. Vivian said she was working overtime in the bedroom and needed quiet. At 1 a.m., her device uploaded 2 gigabytes of data. This wasn't replying to emails or editing documents. This was transferring large files. And 10 minutes later, another device on the same network segment downloaded a file of the same size. Someone was receiving what she sent, and this person was likely from her company too. I began keeping records. Every time she worked overtime, I logged the traffic data. 1 week, 2 weeks, a month. The pattern became frighteningly clear. Late-night transfers appearing in pairs at fixed times. Then I did what any auditor would do. I opened her recycle bin. People always think deletion means destruction, but in Windows, deletion just means hiding. I used software called Recover, completely legal and commonly used in the IT industry. The scan results made my fingers freeze on the mouse. 3 photos, deleted 3 days ago. First photo. Vivian and a man on a private room sofa, her head resting on his shoulder. Second photo. The man's hand on Vivian's waist, both smiling happily. Third photo. 2 champagne glasses clinking together, with a floor-to-ceiling window cityscape in the background. I used reverse image search to check this man, no results. Then I remembered Vivian's company website had management team introductions. Garrett Reed, Vice President of Marketing, 40 years old, married. Looking at this man's face on the screen, I felt no anger, no breakdown. I just calmly thought, if this is just an affair, it's too simple. My professional instinct told me there were bigger problems behind this. And I was right. A week later, I found the real bomb. During the 10 minutes while Vivian showered, I quickly browsed her laptop. In a hidden folder, I saw 3 Excel files: Q1 actual data, Q1 report data, Q2 actual data. I opened the first file. A marketing campaign with 3 million investment, 800,000 clicks, 3.2% conversion rate, ROI about 1.8. Then I opened the second file, the same project. The data had changed, 2.5 million clicks, 8.5% conversion rate, ROI 4.2. 2 sets of data, same project, one real, one fake. My hands were trembling, not from anger, but from excitement. As an auditor, I knew exactly what this meant. Commercial fraud. Vivian and Garrett were fabricating data to fraudulently obtain massive company budgets and bonuses. If the data discrepancy was this large, the amount involved was at least tens of millions. This was no longer just an affair. This was a crime. I could forgive marital betrayal, but breaking the law? That's a different matter. I quickly took photos, closed the files, and returned to the living room pretending nothing happened. When Vivian came out, I smiled and asked, "What do you want for breakfast?" For the next 2 weeks, I entered full evidence-gathering mode. I checked industry databases. Vivian's company's disclosed market ROI was 3 times the industry average. This was impossible. Either they were geniuses or the data was inflated. I investigated their outsourcing partners. 2 companies registered less than a year ago with fewer than 10 employees, yet handling $50 million in marketing business. These were typical shell companies used for fake invoicing and money laundering. Then I found the key information. One company's shareholder was named Garrett Reed Jr., holding 30% shares. Garrett Reed Jr. was likely Garrett's brother. They were both from Tianjin. The entire scam's final piece fell into place. Garrett used his authority to funnel business to his brother's shell company, falsified data to fraudulently obtain budgets and bonuses. Vivian was responsible for creating fake data, and they split the profits. The amount involved, conservatively estimated, started at $30 million. On August 10th, I contacted a college friend who was an investigative journalist. I anonymously sent him a preliminary report, including data comparisons, suspicious company backgrounds, and professional analysis. "If this material is authentic, I can make it a major feature," he replied. "But I need more solid evidence." "You'll have it," I said. "At 8 p.m. on September 8th, I'll give you a decisive gift." On August 15th, Vivian brought up the birthday dinner. September 8th at Grand Feast Palace, VIP private room, about 25 people, she said while doing her makeup. "Mr. Reed said he'll come too. Do you have to invite him?" I asked. "Must," she said matter-of-factly. "He's my supervisor. He must be at this kind of occasion." I looked at her confident profile, feeling very calm inside. This birthday dinner would be the watershed of her life. For the next 3 weeks, I carefully prepared 2 things. The first was a complete chain of evidence. I reorganized all the information I had, establishing a detailed timeline document. From the beginning of Vivian's behavioral changes to network traffic anomalies, to recovered photos, to comparative data analysis, to background investigation of outsourcing companies. Each piece of evidence was annotated with its source and acquisition method, ensuring they could withstand legal scrutiny. Those photos recovered from Vivian's computer. I carefully studied the metadata. The shooting time and location information were completely preserved. GPS coordinates showed the shooting location was the top-floor restaurant of a 5-star hotel downtown. I searched review websites using these coordinates and found this restaurant. Its private rooms required advance booking with per-person consumption starting at 1,500 yuan. I checked our credit card bill that day. No such expense, meaning Garrett paid. I continued digging deeper. Through public business information and corporate annual reports, I mapped out the equity structure of those suspicious outsourcing companies. One company's shareholder list included someone named Garrett Reed Jr., holding 30% shares. Garrett Reed Jr., this name sounded similar to Garrett Reed. I continued tracking using business inquiry tools and found that Garrett Reed Jr.'s registered address was in Tianjin. I also checked Garrett Reed's personal information. His native place was indeed Tianjin. Through deeper relational searches, I found that Garrett Reed Jr. was very likely Garrett Reed's brother. If so, the entire scam was complete. Garrett used his authority to have the company give budgets to his brother's shell company, falsified data to get more budgets and bonuses, then laundered money through the shell company. Vivian was responsible for creating fake data and getting a share of the profits. This was no longer simple workplace misconduct. This was commercial fraud involving amounts that could reach tens of millions. The second preparation was continued communication with the journalist. I sent him more leads, including detailed information about those shell companies and my professional analysis of data authenticity. I told him if he wanted to do this story, the best timing was approaching. "When?" he asked. 8 p.m. on September 8th, I answered. "I'll send you the most critical evidence then. Before that, you can prepare, verify those companies' backgrounds, and interview industry experts to compare data reasonability." "Why are you so certain about this specific time?" he asked, somewhat puzzled. "Because the parties involved will be gathered together then, and they'll likely expose themselves," I replied. Don't journalists love on-site revelations? He was silent for a few seconds, then said, "Are you taking revenge on someone?" "I'm seeking justice," I answered calmly. These two things aren't mutually exclusive. September 8th finally arrived. Vivian got up early that day and spent nearly 2 hours on makeup and dressing. She wore a formal dress I'd never seen before, deep blue with exquisite embroidery on the collar and cuffs. She also went to the salon for styling. She looked absolutely radiant. "I look so beautiful today," she admired herself in the mirror, completely oblivious to my expression. "Yes, very beautiful," I said, and it wasn't a lie. Vivian was indeed beautiful today, but there was something unfamiliar in this beauty, a deliberateness of dressing for someone else's gaze. At 6 in the evening, we arrived at Grand Feast Palace. The VIP private room was indeed impressive, a round table that could seat 30 people, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city nightscape. Vivian's colleagues arrived one after another, each bringing blessings and gifts. Garrett arrived last. He wore a crisp dark gray suit with a blue tie, carrying an elegant gift bag. Upon entering, he walked straight to Vivian, smiling. "Manager Hart, happy birthday. This is a gift I specially selected. I hope you like it." Vivian accepted the gift, her smile brighter than when seeing anyone else. "Thank you, Mr. Reed. I'm truly honored that you could come." I stood aside, smiling as I shook hands with Garrett. "Good evening, Mr. Reed. I'm Vivian's husband, Elliot. Thank you for always nurturing Vivian." "You're too kind, Mr. Morgan." Garrett's handshake was moderate. His eyes met mine directly but moved away after just a second. "Vivian is an excellent employee. Her achievements are the result of her own efforts." Standard workplace pleasantries, delivered flawlessly. The dinner proceeded smoothly. Colleagues chatted about company projects, occasionally sharing inside jokes. Garrett sat at the main table, becoming the center of everyone's attention. He was good at conversation, able to make the whole table laugh with just a few words, appearing approachable while maintaining a leader's sense of distance. Vivian sat next to him, occasionally responding to his topics, the interaction between them natural and intimate. I noticed that when Garrett poured drinks, he would naturally fill Vivian's glass first before his own. When Vivian listened to him speak, her body would lean slightly in his direction. These details might seem like ordinary superior-subordinate interaction to others, but to me, every gesture told a story. At 7:30 p.m., one of Vivian's colleagues suggested having Garrett say a few words, and others applauded in response. Garrett stood up, holding his wine glass, scanning everyone present. "I'm very happy to attend Vivian's birthday today. Vivian is one of the most promising marketing managers I've ever met. She's not only professionally capable, but more importantly, she has a heart willing to contribute to the team." He paused, looking at Vivian with an admiring gaze I recognized well. Over the past 6 months, our team completed several breakthrough projects. Market ROI reached company history records, which couldn't have been achieved without Vivian's efforts. She often works overtime until late at night, and even researches data on weekends. This dedication deeply moves me. Applause erupted. Vivian's face flushed slightly, her eyes sparkling. "So," Garrett raised his glass, "let us toast to Vivian, to her birthday, and to our team's success." Everyone raised their glasses, with congratulations rising one after another. I also raised my glass but didn't drink. I just watched this scene, waiting for the right moment. At exactly 8 p.m., my phone vibrated. A message from the journalist. "Article ready. Can publish anytime. Confirm." I replied, "Confirmed. Now." A few seconds later, he replied, "Published." I put down my phone and stood up. "Excuse me for interrupting." My voice wasn't loud but enough to make everyone stop and look at me. Today is a special day. Besides celebrating Vivian's birthday, I also want to give her a special gift. Vivian looked at me, her eyes somewhat confused but more expectant, and others quieted down, waiting curiously. "Vivian, we've been married for 3 years," I said calmly. "During these 3 years, you've become more and more excellent, more and more successful. I'm proud of you." Her expression softened a bit, probably thinking I was about to say something touching. I took out my phone, opened a web page, and turned the screen toward everyone. This is an article I discovered this afternoon. I find it very interesting and want to share it with everyone. The screen displayed a headline article from Financial Weekly, "The multimillion-dollar scam behind data fabrication, investigation of a fraud case in a well-known enterprise's marketing department." The room instantly fell silent. Truth doesn't need to be loudly proclaimed, it only needs to be seen. I saw Garrett's expression change from confusion to shock to fear. He quickly pulled out his phone, his fingers frantically swiping across the screen. Others also took out their phones to check, and soon the room filled with exclamations. "Isn't this our company? This data? My God! Is this real?" The article was very detailed. It listed data anomalies in a company's marketing department over the past year, compared the huge gap between publicly disclosed performance and industry standards, exposed the existence of several shell outsourcing companies, and even pointed out the relational connections between these companies. The article didn't directly name the company or individuals, but for those present, it was too easy to match. The project names, timelines, and data details mentioned in the article corresponded one-to-one with their team's work. I continued standing, my voice still calm. The article also mentions that according to an anonymous report, the core figures of this scam are a vice president surnamed Reed and his core execution team members. The whistleblower provided extensive evidence, including comparisons of real data and false reports, suspicious fund flows, and behavioral records of relevant personnel. Garrett's face had turned deathly pale. His phone rang, one call after another. I saw the names displayed on the screen: chairman, HR director, legal department. He didn't answer, he just stood there, as if frozen. Vivian also pulled out her phone, her hands trembling. She glanced at the article, then suddenly looked up at me, her eyes full of fear and disbelief. "Elliot, you..." Her voice was shaking. "I just happened to see this article and thought I should share it with everyone." My tone remained peaceful, as if discussing the weather. After all, if someone is doing something illegal, they should be exposed, right? The atmosphere in the room completely changed. Colleagues exchanged glances, some began whispering, some refreshed their phones to confirm the article's content. Some stared straight at Garrett and Vivian. Garrett's phone kept ringing. Finally, he answered one. "What? Now?" His voice was hoarse and tense. "I'm outside. Can it wait until tomorrow?" The other party obviously disagreed. Garrett listened to the phone, his face growing increasingly grim. "I understand. I'll return to the company immediately." He hung up, looked around. Everyone was watching him. At that moment, this usually graceful and confident vice president completely lost his composure. His voice trembled. "I need to leave first. There's an emergency at the company." He tried to maintain composure, but everyone could see his panic. He hurried toward the door, his steps quickening. Just as he was about to exit the room, his phone rang again. He glanced at the screen, then his entire body seemed drained of strength. He leaned against the doorframe, covering his face with his hand, his shoulders beginning to shake. Then he cried. A 40-year-old successful man, a vice president managing tens of millions in budget, a leader who had just been speaking confidently on stage. He broke down in front of everyone. His crying wasn't loud, but it was particularly clear in the quiet room. It was a desperate, suppressed crying, as if he knew he was finished. All his efforts, all his calculations, all his future, vanished in this instant. "It's over," he muttered. "All over." Then he pushed open the door and staggered out, leaving a room full of shocked people. Vivian sat dumbfounded in her chair, her face deathly pale. Her phone also began vibrating frantically. Obviously, things had exploded at the company. I walked up to her, bent down, and whispered in her ear. "I warned you not to let him come to your birthday dinner. You didn't listen. Now you both have to pay the price for your choices." She looked up at me, her eyes full of tears, unable to speak. I straightened up, looking at the other guests. "Tonight's dinner ends here. The bill is already settled. Everyone take care." Then I turned and left the room. leaving behind a deathly silence. The next morning, Garrett's lawyer called. "Mr. Morgan, regarding last night's incident, I need to talk with you." The voice was stern. "You provided defamatory information to the media, causing serious reputational damage to my client. We reserve the right to pursue legal liability." I took a bite of toast, chewing slowly. "Mr. Zhang, all the data in that article was obtained through public channels. Industry data comparisons, business registration information, corporate annual reports, all legal. As for the internal report, that was the journalist's independent investigation, nothing to do with me." "You're lying. It must have been you who provided the information." "First, I'm not an employee of that company." I put down my coffee cup. "Second, reporting commercial fraud through legal channels is a citizen's right and duty. Third, what your client is facing now isn't a reputation dispute, but a criminal investigation for suspected commercial fraud." Silence on the other end. "This call is being recorded," I continued. "If you continue threatening me, this recording will be submitted to relevant departments as evidence of interference with judicial investigation. I suggest you think carefully about your professional risk before saying your next sentence." I interrupted him. "Goodbye, Mr. Zhang." Hung up, deleted the call record, backed up the recording. Handling threats is like handling data, calm, precise, leaving no loopholes. Over the following days, the situation spiraled out of control like an avalanche. Financial Weekly's report exploded online. Other media followed up. More details were exposed. Insiders revealed this kind of data fabrication had been ongoing for over 2 years. The company's stock price plummeted. Regulatory authorities intervened. Garrett was suspended pending investigation. Vivian, as a core executor, was also investigated. The internet began doxing. Garrett's luxury car, expensive watches, high-end consumption were all exposed, far exceeding his income level. More people began questioning the source of the money. More devastatingly, someone discovered his brother indeed operated the outsourcing company, and this company received huge orders from Garrett's company. Fund flow investigations confirmed everything. On September 15th, Vivian came home. She looked like she'd aged 10 years. Red, swollen eyes, disheveled hair. When she saw me, she stopped. "It was you." Her voice was low, filled with hatred. "You ruined me." I didn't stand up. "I didn't ruin you. Your own choices ruined you. I just wanted a better life." She suddenly became agitated. "I work so hard. Why should I get such a small salary? Those data, other companies do it too. So fraud is justified?" I countered. "Because others do it, you can do it? You don't understand." She became hysterical. "You just stick to your meager dead salary. What do you know about ambition? What do you know about opportunity?" I followed Mr. Reed. "We could go further." "You did go quite far," I said calmly. "Far enough that you might go to prison." She collapsed on the floor, holding her head and crying. I picked up a document from the coffee table and handed it to her. "Divorce agreement. I've already signed it. The house is yours. I don't want any property, but you need to sign within 3 days." She looked up, not believing. You planned this all along? From the day you decided to bring Garrett to the birthday dinner, I knew our marriage was over," I said. "I just wanted you to see clearly what kind of person you chose." "Why?" she cried. "Just because I had an affair?" "Not because of the affair." I shook my head. "If it was just an affair, I would have directly sued for divorce. I did this because you broke the law. You defrauded tens of millions, harming the company and shareholders' interests. This isn't a marital issue. This is a crime." I stood up, looking down at her. "Vivian, 3 years ago when I married you, I thought you were just an ambitious, ordinary girl." My voice was very calm. "But you changed. For money and status, you can abandon principles, betray your partner, commit crimes. This isn't the Vivian I knew." I walked toward the door, stopped and turned back. 3 days, if you don't sign, I'll go through legal procedures. At that time, all these records will become court evidence. Then I closed the door and left this place that once was home. 2 weeks later, the case was officially filed. Garrett was suspected of commercial fraud and embezzlement, with amounts exceeding $30 million criminal detention. Vivian, as an accomplice, was investigated. Since she was only an executor, not the mastermind, she was temporarily released on bail. The company revoked all performance suspected of fraud from the past 2 years. The marketing department was almost completely restructured. Garrett's wife filed for divorce, revealing he had used his authority to engage in improper relationships with female subordinates more than once. More victims came forward, the incident snowballed. As for me, I left with nothing, but I didn't care. I moved to a 1-bedroom apartment closer to the company. Simple but sufficient. At work, because of my professional ability in data analysis, the company gave me more important projects. Some people asked if I did all this out of revenge. My answer, not entirely. If it was just revenge for infidelity, I could have simply divorced. But when I discovered they weren't just betraying marriage but also breaking the law, the nature changed. As an auditor, my duty is to discover problems and expose them, regardless of who's involved, even if it's my wife. Vivian and Garrett ruined their own lives not because of me, but because of their choices. They chose shortcuts, chose fraud, chose to put profit above principles. I just ensured these choices had corresponding consequences. Now, every morning when I wake up, there's sunlight outside the window. I brew a cup of coffee, open a book, and enjoy this hard-won peace. I'm not a hero, nor a god of vengeance. I'm just an ordinary person who used his professional knowledge to do what he believed was right. Life goes on, but this time, it's built on truth and dignity, not on the ruins of lies and betrayal. This is my story, about a birthday dinner, a carefully planned exposure, and how a man used data and evidence to defend his dignity and justice. As for the question everyone's asking, what did I do to make him lose control like that? The answer is simple. I just brought the truth to light, and truth is often more lethal than any revenge.
That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.